All right, welcome to Raising Funds for World Domination, day number 155. Orthoplex 64, how's it going? So, we're still counting down the days until the next N13 merits hearing. I guess it's like a week. It's a business weekend and 2 weekends away. As for the latest accomplishments, on September 10th, we released the newest release version of the block mining simulation game. I released my accounting video, doing some extended commentary on the business video. Next, I'm going to try to get, well, actually, I started on I started work today on just the brainstorming for what specific concepts I'll review for the next commentary video. So I'll do a legal business law extended commentary video to complement the accounting one. And then, I don't know, I guess I don't want to promise too much, but I'm thinking maybe I could probably also do like a marketing. I could probably also do one on marketing, and then maybe also one on like saying more about like shipping things. Because there's like, shipping products is a surprisingly complex thing. So we're working on increasing revenue. I think my sales is like, total sales is like around $10 or something through the store now. So the $4 sticker pack sold. I still haven't shipped any of them. I'll do that soon. I'm just kind of going, I could list a ton of stuff at once, but I'm just testing out the store and working the bugs out of the process, just in case, like, I don't want to sell it. I don't want to make some sales that are like have like wrong settings or something if I charge someone full price. So we'll set the next sticker pack at $8 and see how long that takes to sell. And for tonight, we'll continue work on the block mining simulation game. So tonight we're working toward the next goal of getting crafting recipes. And the main bit of work for this is to come up with a general purpose scrollable list UI feature, which I'm actually going to use for other stuff. That'll also be for, I'm going to fix the item selection frame, as well as the adding the crafting recipes. And then theoretically, I could probably also use that for the help menu when there's too many options, they won't fit in the screen. So I did, I merged in the changes as of what I got last night. And then also, I also added another store item to sell malachite ore. And I made a sale on that. So that is now implemented in the game. So we can just generate some new chunks here somewhere. All right, so now we've got a green ore type. For malachite. And there it is in the help menu. Do you plan to make the game very addictive? Needs slot mechanics? Yeah, a lot of people have requested loot boxes. So I probably will have to eventually implement that. I guess for starters, I'll just do this as slow as possible. Applying for internships right now. I'd rather be eating nails. Seems way more impossible than last year. Are you in the U.S. or Canada? USA computer science. Yeah, everyone, every data point that I hear is that it's harder. I mean, on YouTube, I hear a lot of. There's of course a lot of doom and gloom on YouTube. Then, of course, I think it's also you also have to be careful about like selection bias of information on YouTube, because I guess if someone is gainfully employed at a tech company, they're probably not producing a ton of videos, but it's like when people get laid off, that's when they make the YouTube video. about how everything's terrible. But then again, I have asked a few people, and it does seem like it is pretty consistent that it's the reality. I think what it is, we're kind of just getting to the end of the business cycle. And I know a lot of people are blaming AI for the layoffs, but personally, I don't think that's the main reason. I think it's just like cover. Companies don't want to admit that they're kind of struggling, and that's why they're laying people off. I think there's also a financial incentive, because especially if you're a public company, if you say your business is doing bad, that means your earnings are going to be down. But if you say you laid a bunch of people off, but your revenue is the same, so if you say like you laid people off because you became more efficient, then your stock is going to go up. I think Robert is very addictive. Yeah, I do have some. There's some regulars on the stream, so I guess that's active. That's accurate. Job hunting is extremely hard. Need to try 10x harder. Yeah, it's I mean, job search these days is it's kind of been a downward spiral for years. I was helping someone, a family member years ago, like 10 years ago, get their first job. And we went around to like just to get started. I said, like, just make some resumes, and we'll go to the mall and just like walk into stores and try to give them a resume. And even back then, almost everywhere would be just like, oh, if you want to apply, just apply online. And of course, every single place you apply online, it's like, upload your resume. And then some of them would be like, please enter your zip code. When we were trying to apply for a job in Canada, and you'll get directed to like the international corporate headquarters, and you have to like, please select your country. Please indicate the last 5 mailing addresses that you had. You got to fill that out over and over and over again. That was like 10 years ago. And now I imagine it's so much worse. You got AI, all these AI interviews where they just want to like steal your information and add it to a database. Also understand it's different from reality. You need to go to physical places and ask around university for a job. Yeah, I was actually even watching, I think I mentioned this on stream before, but apparently a new problem like companies are having is they're accidentally hiring literal North Koreans by accident because they don't have a good process. And this is happening more and more. And then like the FBI will get involved, and then they're like, hey, you have this person who's not legally supposed to be here. And so that's like, that adds another level of like distrust. Like, 100 years ago, you walk into the local store and then you just give someone a handshake. Say, I'm a hard worker with a good attitude. And they'll say, you're hired. But now if you try to walk up to someone and do that, they'll be like, please apply online. And then they'll be like, please give all your biometrics to this artificial intelligence to figure out if you're from North Korea or not. Stop by every once in a while. I am one of your Unix sticker customers. Oh, okay. Oh, do you mean the Kickstarter campaign? Those are the true fans. Workday job portal is guaranteed you will never get a response back. Yeah, it's become easier to apply, but it's also become like easier to reject. So like the average person will, like I think the average number of applications people will submit is just going to keep going up. You know, I was thinking, in terms of like matchmaking and stuff. I had this thought about like for like the future of online dating. It could make sense if like one of the ways that works in the future is like you train an LLM on yourself, and then you just like right now those things seem like bots talking to each other. But what if it actually was bots talking to each other? What if you just program a bot, and the bot will go like talk to a trillion other bots and figure out who is most compatible? And I thought that almost makes sense for job hunting as well. Like if the CEO described what kind of employee they want, and then that, like, you would, as a job seeker, you train an LLM on the job you want, and then it'll just apply to like a trillion jobs. Got it right? They asked me if I wanted to put my resume into their AI. Yeah, that's only going to get worse. Ever woke up and realized that you're not really part of the system anymore? I guess I kind of had maybe more feelings like that way back when I first started, back in probably like 2015, 16 or so. Because I was still an independent businessman back then. Every CS job requires security clearance. I see why now. Yeah, we're also going into like a world war now, so I mean security will get locked down even more probably. Social contract has been deleted a long time ago. Yes, I guess to the Unix stickers. The answer is so if you want R8 or I to review your resume, it's always no. Who knows though? Maybe that's maybe they'll reject you though. It's kind of not cool. It's almost like they're like extorting your data under threat of not hiring you unless you submit all your information to the LLM. Do you know that God's kill count in the First Testament is over 4 million? If you add up all the God-inflicted deaths. I did not know that. LLMs are the end of dating. I would rather talk to a chatbot than a date. But why not just I think the future of that stuff could be like use an LLM to model your own like personality and interests, and like you can just tell the LLM everything about yourself. It could basically be like your wingman. And then everyone would have like an LLM assistant. And the LLM assistant could be interacting with like hundreds of thousands of other LLMs that are potential matches. And then every once in a while it could be like, hey, what do you think about doing this thing or that thing or this life decision? And then you could say, yeah, I'd be interested in that. And then I'll be like, okay, I have 3,000 potential matches. And then you can be like, sure. Keep talking to them and then see which ones are compatible. And if both people did that, that would probably be actually effective. I'm really good at resumes. 23 tech career run. I might apply to the NSA. So I might become a Fed. Yeah, I mean, they're probably hiring these days. They've got a lot of information to digest out there. I mean, like the movie Her? I've never seen that movie. I can't say specifically. Every girl within a million miles is too good for me. Yeah, I mean, I think there would have to be something that would have to, like, it would have to be possible on both ends, like theoretically. I mean, what you could even do is you could tweak the LLM so it was tuned to be to like agree with you all the time, and then to be like, initially it would be exactly what you want, and then over time it could like adapt its personality. So like if you have to settle, it could slowly kind of adapt to like the real world best match. So like there exists among 1,000 people, one of those people is the most, by definition, one of those people is the most compatible with you. So if you talk to an LLM and the LLM starts off being like some non-existently compatible match, and then slowly over time it would just, it would adapt its personality so that you'd end up settling for the person that you're compatible with. I think you could do more AI sci-fi ideas for your videos. Yeah, I could. There is a lot that I could say about AI. I got to get through my my current video. So I was working on the law video today. You prefer Sharia law? I guess. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I like Napoleonic law. It's pretty cool. Unfiltered says, hope you're doing well. What is the news with the landlord situation? The news with the landlord situation is in, what is it, I think, about a week and a half, there is another hearing, the next hearing. And once that hearing happens, then I probably won't get information right away, but that will advance the situation a bit. Creepy ChatGPT always copied Scarlett Johansson's voice, and she sued. Yeah, that's funny that they just ripped her off and didn't even. They just decided to like steal her voice and then not compensate or anything. There's been some horrendous cases involving AI chatbots lately. People need to just talk to people, not computers. That's true. And the worst thing with online streaming is you have no idea who's a chatbot. Chatbots have killed at least a few people so far. Yeah, I've been hearing more about like AI psychosis. Among a few people who never had it before. But I don't know. I don't really think. I guess maybe if we're not super like used to that type of stuff. Like one video I saw was of a guy who was like convinced that he talked to a chatbot, and he got convinced that he discovered some like novel mathematical thing that was like being suppressed by the government. But then eventually he talked to like a different chatbot, and the different other chatbot was like, oh yeah, this is just nonsense. And then he kind of snapped out of it. The weird part is that they will learn about that and learn they have power over humans. Yeah, it's true. That's the alignment problem. Do you know anything about quantum computing? I know some things like in the abstract. I don't know what the latest is. A few years ago, I remember watching. I went to some talks about like some theoretical models for it and stuff. 8 billion people next. Drones and robots are key. Yep, soon we're going to have lots of drones and robots flying around everywhere. Do you know of Louis Rossmann? Yes, I watched a lot of his board repair channels. I learned a lot about like surface mount repair from that. Chatbots are not good for people with a weak hold on reality. Yeah, that's true. I think a lot of the people who had like this AI psychosis, I think, got it from a lot of them had a prior history of mental health issues. I mean, even if you don't have mental health issues, it's like you really have to think. Like they're super convincing sometimes. You really have to like check the work carefully. Quantum Marl is cool as heck. Not sure what that is. Never heard of it. Models will be 12 better next year. 12 times better. Well, you knew of him? A bunch of people recommended it to me a while ago, and it's on my to-do list of a number of things to look and do, which I never get around to. What is he doing? I'm working on building a terminal-based video game. As for the game, let's see, maybe I can compile this. Try AstroVim with NeoVim. I probably won't. I get so many recommendations to try things, and I just don't have time. Someone asked about the game, so this is what the game looks like. It's a terminal-based video game where you simulate the process of mining blocks of iron ore in an infinite, procedurally generated universe. Do you think Canada has capitalism? I mean, it's supposed to in principle, but the social reality has been changing a lot in the last few decades. Hey Robert, what are you coding today? Today I'm coding some of the rendering functions for a generic list item class. So I need a I need a user interface feature where I can just have like a generic list of items that I can scroll through that actually looks a bit presentable. That's one of the things I want to add with the recipes feature. And then once this actually works, I'm probably going to update the inventory items, because right now it's not a very good UI. If you have too many items, it'll just go off the page and you can't see them. Let's see. Just make this 5 by 5 for now. Just discovered there are some BNB treasuries similar to BTC. BTC treasures. I don't even know what that is. BTC, you assume it's Bitcoin, but I don't follow any Bitcoin stuff. I noticed you have monetization off. I have monetization off because when I had it on, the amount of money I got from like the ads was basically zero. Like it was a tiny fraction, and the amount from like super chats and memberships was way higher. And also when people come to the stream, if you see an ad, you're less likely to stick around. So for like growth and interaction, I think it's well, so that's one side of the analysis. The biggest one was I can't control what's on the stream, and like I don't really know how they're like triggering and stuff works. So sometimes people will chat stuff that's like people talk about like substance use and stuff, and I can ban people, but if someone chats something bad, or if I don't know, I talk about some, like if someone asks like about COVID and then I say some trigger word about COVID or something, if that puts me on like their bad list, I don't want to get demonetized, or I don't want to get like on their bad side, because when I turn on monetization for like the monetization from videos is like orders of magnitude higher, and I don't want to lose monetization on those because that's where like most of the money is coming from at the moment. I think the and then once the like the cost benefit analysis is just way I think it favors not monetizing the live streams, and then after the long-term strategy, the way I think most people do it, like I've heard people talk about this and also other people who do streaming, it seems like the way you do it is you do the live stream, and then in post you'll create clips, and then they'll blur the chat out. And then because if I turn on monetization, it's like give me your pledge that this content does not contain all of the following things, and if it's live, there's no way to confirm that. Treasuries such as MSTR, which are just a bunch of public holdings company holding the crypto. BNB Binance Exchange token. Yeah, I've heard about all that stuff about like pegging them to treasuries and stuff, and I don't have any interest in that stuff. It's all just, I'm gonna keep my mind focused on meaningful, productive things, like creating tokens out of thin air and pegging them to other things. Is just like the US dollar used to be pegged, used to be backed by gold, and then they went off the gold standard, and now people are just like inventing this cryptic web of stuff and pegging made-up currencies to other made-up currencies to move value around. And I think it's just like a giant complicated game where some people are going to make a lot and some people are going to get totally screwed. And I think it'll be an effective game. I have a project in the back burner about state of online ads. It's gotten so bad. Not your keys, not your coins. Even that, I think, can be problematic. I think I saw a headline recently that the government was going to, or the IRS was going to start thinking about bringing in some sort of like a legislation so that having your own keys to your crypto would be like outlawed, where it has to be done through, I don't know, some intermediary or something like that. I don't really care. It's just there's so much stuff to learn, and like back when, I don't know, like every 3 years there's just like a massive amount of information and rabbit holes you can go down about blockchain this and stuff, and then 2 years later nobody uses it. Like NFTs, like what happened to them? They just like all went to zero, and now nobody cares about them. With the sunk cost fallacy, getting involved. Two on that blueprint of thoughts. Wouldn't the sunk cost fallacy, getting involved too on that blueprint of thoughts? I'm not sure. Have you ever thought about stock derivative trading to raise the funds? Yeah, I got very interested. I back when I was 19, I got really into stock market trading and stuff. That was what I did. I messed around with that before I came to university. And actually, the reason I decided to enroll in a software engineering degree was I wanted to I wanted to learn how to write automated trading software. And then I got I actually ended up working for a forex market maker, and I kind of saw the other side of like one of those companies. And after working at them, I decided it's just, for a retail investor, you don't stand a chance. Crypto seems to be built around fleecing the uninitiated. Stocks are the same but older and bigger. Maybe it's good if you're a corporation. Yeah, crypto is, with crypto, I think that's more true. In crypto, in the whole crypto market, like there's nothing, like if you think about the world of atoms and energy, there's nothing physically being created. In fact, there's only things being destroyed. It's like wasting energy. But in the stock market, there is an actual fundamental like if you imagine a scenario where people like a big investor who was not a speculator came up and bought all the coins, nothing would happen to the value of it. Like nothing would be created of value. But if someone, just bought up all the stocks and held on to them, you would still have companies. The companies would get that money, and then they would use it to build out their production and stuff. And then the company would be, there'd be workers and stuff, tables and chairs and video games and stuff gets created. This kind of magnitude of knowledge, would it be easier to forecast things before happening in real time? Like in real estate, for example? Or in quantitative trading? With this kind of magnitude of knowledge, I'm not sure what magnitude of knowledge you're referring to. One thing for sure, we don't have the original blueprint of the thoughts about something. Our intel will be worth nothing, like a dog chasing his tail. With my level of knowledge to forecast things before they happen in real time. That's what everyone's trying to do in this. Everyone's trying to forecast the real estate market, and I wouldn't be alone in trying to achieve that. To have any hope of being successful at that, you got to focus on something you know about. Yeah, at least there's something going on besides the price. Yeah, like if you take a bunch of money and you invest it in a bakery, like let's say a bakery does a share issuance of $10,000, and they have $10,000, they buy some baking equipment and stuff, and then they make really nice food, and people come there, and then next year, at the end of the year, they have like $20,000. Then they open a second bakery, and there's like an exponential growth curve to the the number of physical atoms and energy that the bakery consists of. Whereas if you buy a Bitcoin, next year you've got a Bitcoin. It's like some numbers in a blockchain. There's nothing intrinsically being produced. Then you'll place your items on the local school or uni of elders. Products need constantly scaling. It's like building layers. Think of it like an onion shape. I don't really understand what you're trying to say there. About scaling a product or service, like a bakery or some food. Yeah, I'm not sure the analogy about building an onion. I don't know how to relate that. Most markets with deep pockets are already cornered. If you want to break into education as an outsider, it's going to be an uphill battle. I think basically any kind of new business these days is an uphill battle for more reasons than one. Sounds like you're on some big ideas. Recommend taking a step back to evaluate the landscape. Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hasselt. Not familiar with that. Start with the bakery. After a while, you get motion and cash flow. After that, what do you do? Go to festivals or food truck, special locations to promote your item. Getting motion there too. After that, you going to place your items in vending machine or gym. Yeah, I guess you're just describing the natural process of a building of a company growing and expanding and trying new things and stuff. I'm not sure if an onion necessarily is the best analogy, but I think I've heard someone describe like a really mature business is kind of like more like an octopus, where you have like your kind of central thing, and then you just start getting like more and more tentacles, and you can like grab onto more things, and then there's a lot of things in business, like a very, very large, like in my experience, you'll try maybe like 10 different things, and most of the things you try don't work. They're just like too expensive, too time consuming. And then every once in a while, you touch on something and you try it. And you're like, yeah, we'll just try this random thing. It probably won't work. And then you try it and it works 10 times more than you thought it would. And then once you identify that, then you can start doubling down on it. And then and sometimes also like the world is changing, and like you mentioned your idea of festivals and stuff. It might be that you try to go to a festival to cater to that, and you find you don't expect much, and you go there and you're like, wow, this is amazing. But then the festival is like once a year, so then you try, and then you grow your business a lot at this like one location or one, weekly festival or monthly or yearly or whatever. And then something changes, like there's city construction, and then suddenly it's really hard to get over to that side of town, and the festival foot traffic is way, way down. And suddenly the thing that worked, you finally found something that works, and it worked for like 1 year, and you grew a bit, but now it doesn't work anymore, and you're like starting to lose money. And then there maybe like be like one thing, and then the city also wants more money for permits and stuff, or some other kind of thing comes along, and then you got to try out other methods of growth. But yeah, that's just the natural process of trying to grow a business. But it's easier to describe those things than do them, because there's a lot that has to come together for that stuff. Lots of it is it's very low margin often, and if you're depending on like an event, that'd be stressful, because you may invest, when you think about how much money, like you may bet a lot of money in stocking up on stuff, but like a worst case scenario is you expect an event, so you got to order all the stuff in advance, and you stock up, you expect to sell tons of product, and then on the day of the event it pours rain. It's like the worst storm ever. So now you've got all this inventory and you didn't sell anything, and it's food, so it's like expiring. So you sunk all this money into it, and then you take a big loss. Having capital in the first place helps. Being able to put it to where it matters most is a skill issue. It's always going to be hard to build something from nothing. Yeah, a lot of it's I think would come from experience and also data. Like if you're starting a bakery and you've run one for years, you'll have a good intuition about what products the customers want, how much inventory you should order. And then also having like specific data on like, foot traffic and that kind of thing can help. The tricky part and most difficult part is cash flow. I think if you play it like a game and somehow maintain a positive mind, you can enjoy it. Otherwise, you'll be eaten alive by stress. Expiration dates. Yeah, it's all a game of optimization. Buddy, how close to our brave new world? We're getting there. One day at a time. One block mined at a time. People tend to back off from purchasing something because of capital issues. Or psychological issues of spending. Yeah, I think a business is very much a different mindset. I think like going from working at a 9 to 5 to doing business, like I find the way I value stuff is a lot different. Like there are a lot of things that I think there's a correct perception that if you're starting a business, you have to be frugal. But also in some other ways, you have to be if you're going to survive in building a new business, there are specific areas where you have to like kind of suspend your frugality and be like a bit reckless, because you have to experiment. Like if you're very conservative, you're never going to take any risks on certain things, but the highest ROI things are often going to be, like I said about you'll set up experiments on 10 things, and then one of them will just like, it'll kind of surprise you, and you're like, wow, I did not expect that to work, to make as much money as it did, and then you just double down on that. Food industry in general, I think pharma is much better. Pharma is like to manufacture pharmaceuticals. That's a completely different industry with really significant startup capital costs. Like to manufacture any of that stuff, you need like at least millions of dollars. But a cafe, I mean, you could like rent a kiosk somewhere for probably like, $50 at a farmer's market and set up a kiosk with some coffee and stuff. I forgot how to call the constructor of another. I forgot how to program. I know I can't return that, but how do I call a constructor with default parameters? Function. It's not a function. So basically, I'm just having one of these moments where I'm like, I forgot how to program. So basically, I want this to return that. Do I need like a separate method for all of them? These are super. I don't think. I don't know. Is everyone forgetting to program? How to program? That's why it's vital to have a support group of people, ideally people with aligned beliefs or interests. Do you think farmer going to the doctor would be more accessible in the future thanks to AI? I don't know. I hope it is. I think AI, the existence or non-existence of AI is probably not going to be it's not going to be relevant. It's probably more like a policy thing. It's all about like insurance companies and the artificially constrained supply of doctors and this. I don't think I've ever done that before. So like I know for sure that doesn't really look correct to me because I've never done that specific thing before, but we'll see if that works. Oh, that seems to get past the compiler. Oh yeah. It needs to be changed in the base class. Thank you for the tip, Orzoplex64. Three 3L Atlas doesn't look like a natural object. Three I/Atlas doesn't look like a natural object. I don't know what that refers to. So-called comment. Oh, was that the one that we were talking about? The exposed iron core the other night. I have to go, Robert. It was nice talking to you. Have a good night. Radman says, "Wow, you still doing this?" Of course. It's a lot of work to take over the world. Think I'm just going to quit after a couple days? Have a good night. I got extremely tired of the coverage of 3i Atlas. Looks exactly like a comet with properties we haven't seen before, because we were never able to look at similar objects. Too many sources lashed onto aliens. Yeah, it's kind of annoying how there's always everyone always goes to aliens. Although I think things have gotten better though. There's a lot more now that we have more internet discussions of things. There's like you can always tune out the nonsense analysis. There's always at least someone with scientific analysis. How many lines of code? How many files? Probably a bunch now. I think last time I looked, it was like, I don't know, 20,000 lines of code or something. Let's see. So 220 with 220 files. In this package, there's the core is where most of the code is. Follow the science. Get your 23rd booster. Yep. The science never lies. Trust the science. One class per file. Yep. what that Boolean does. I would think that's trusting the change flags. How's the landlord situation? The current status is the next N13 merits hearing is on October 6th. So it's still scheduled. Numbers don't lie. Liars figure. I don't think I've heard that expression before. Takalora says, "Hey Bob, how's it going?" And let's see what that does. Just bought another M2 hard drive to put on my laptop. Somehow it didn't have 4K sector size. I use ZFS as rootfs, so it's quite important for me to have 4K sectors. Is it important? I don't know about I've never run ZFS for a root file system, but I think he still like I think a lot of hard drives are still on, a lot of like consumer stuff is still on 512 byte sector, if I'm not mistaken. And I think a 4K sector is only like a enterprisey thing. I actually bought a storage array, a storage bay, and I bought like some used. I thought I was getting a deal. Bought some used enterprise drive, and it was formatted with 4K sectors, and the storage bay was not able to recognize it. And then I messed around with some tool to try and I found some tool to like it's not like a regular block device formatting. It's you have to use some like super weird tool that I think it has to be vendor specific to tell the drive. So like if you have a Western Digital thing, it has to be something that's compatible with the Western Digital proprietary thing to like internally tell it to format that way. I use ext for root and put everything important on ZFS. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can use NVMe CLI for that. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's possible to like use that tool to reprovision it. But my understanding is 512 sector is still kind of pretty standard. If I can replace the data from the internet, I prefer to specify the process over hardening the volume. I don't know. I'm not sure what that you mean by that. By hardening the volume. Oh, I mean like having redundancy for the data. I have a Western Digital 740 that I use for Windows. I guess I'll have to clone the Windows install. Are you sure you need 4K sectors? I guess it's probably a bit of a performance difference, but not sure what the benchmarks are on that. Tested the speeds on my drives a while back. Found out you get 4x speed on 4K sectors. Oh, okay. Sounds like you're getting in the weeds and in danger of becoming an academic about it in 5 years. Do you mean the... Are you referring to the other chatter there about the 4K sectors things? Four times speed up is pretty... That's pretty meaningful. I guess it depends how much you're reading and writing from the drives. I guess if you play like video games or something, it's probably not really that much of a bottleneck. Unfortunately, reading from persistent storage is a huge bottleneck in modern games. Oh, okay. I guess I don't game enough to know these things. I guess that's believable if you're moving around like some kind of map with insanely large textures on it. I would have figured the graphics rendering would have been even worse. Modern games shovel tens of gigabytes. Yeah, I mean that's the size of the whole game, but I have to wonder, like for a given area, if you're in one area on the map, maybe for like the loading screens, I guess. Well, it probably depends on the game, I guess. A lot of software is garbage these days, so it probably when you load, it probably doesn't do intelligent loading. It probably just loads like the entire map and a whole bunch of assets that it doesn't ever use. So yeah, I guess you're probably right. They probably are. It probably depends on the game. Wouldn't be a bottleneck for me. Think about DRAM into two 2242 drives. Since they couldn't, I have to resort to these things. Yeah, it's been a while since I built a new computer. All right, my list rendering is it's starting to work. I have a list. Doesn't display much, but Game Dev Chad says, evening. How's it going? Tonight we're just working on the rendering of list items. I'm gonna have to make that a static method, I think. Yeah, that's not static. That has a this on it. What was your inspiration to create the block mining simulator? I guess it was just it's kind of a convergence of multiple things. I just had an idea for a kind of like a simplistic game engine that you could repurpose for a number of different things. I think it's also, for starting off, like the process of building a game is an enormous undertaking. So I think starting with a restrictive user interface means I could get like an achievable milestone and a release quicker. So starting off with making a terminal-based game kind of lowers the bar for what I would need to like it's a restricted environment in the first place, so people have to be okay with less good graphics. And since a majority of my audience is already interested in terminal-based stuff, I thought it makes sense to start with the intersection of like terminal stuff and games. So yeah, it's more of like it's the intersection between the audience interest and also the ability to like just be able to get to a point where I can release some small incremental new stuff. Like if I built a 3D shooter game or something, there's like 5 billion other people who are doing that. But I'm going to bet that I'm the only person who's doing a terminal-based video game where you simulate mining. Fast random access, but modern SSDs are catching up. Yeah, things are getting, tech is getting pretty mind-blowing these days, but it's getting expensive too. Jim Artel says, hey, what up? Not too much, just working on the block mining simulation game. Sorry to add a side quest to the rabbit hole. I'm not sure what that means. Are you still fighting the landlord? The next hearing is scheduled for October 6th. So we have the next N13 merits eviction hearing. This is going to be the second. This is the third tenant board hearing overall. It's the second one where we've actually discussed the merits of the necessity for vacant possession to complete the proposed extensive renovations. It might not even be the last. Technically, there may be another hearing after this. Hope we make video updates about it. Yeah, eventually, I think. I guess I'll have to make at least some update after this one. But after the 6th, I will have makes more sense to do it after. And I have some other content I want to get through first. Love the passion you put into all these different Unix tools. Yeah, I'd like to get back to more of the Linux stuff, but I'm too slow. I guess I kind of meander. I meander through topics. Well, from the live streams, people have asked me a lot of kind of life advice questions. So I thought, not a lot of people are asking that. It would probably make sense to do a decent video on it. And then I take a couple. I started with the what should I do with my life video about like analysis, systematic analysis of like what job you should do. And in that video, I said I'll probably do another video for the 5%. And I figured I should probably make it have a decent video. And there's a lot to business, so I decided the one with the best audience appeal would probably be like the kind of comedic style one I have for that how to start a business video. And then I thought that's good on its own. It's a good style on its own, but it's also not very informative. So then I figured maybe I'll do the extended commentary. It'll be easier to crank that out, and it would go well with some of the other business videos. So I'm working through that at the moment. I have a few for robotics projects, but they don't actually make much sense for a daily driver. I once told you my favorite Linux command was btop, but I think mtr is a very close second. I'm not actually I'm not familiar with that command. I think your life updates one are the most viewed. How to become a 37-year-old broke loser one is I have a couple other kind of like what I consider like life update, like vlog style ones. Actually, one of my worst videos is a vlog update kind of style one. If I was good at investing, I would have bought a bunch of 118G octane drives. They're unobtainable now. That's kind of interesting to think about, that we live in a world where you can buy hardware, computer hardware, and it's going up in value. That's that's kind of unheard of. The idea of investing in tech hardware used to always just 6 months later it's garbage. Just that money put it in stonk instead. That's another strategy. MTR, just a traceroute tool to help visualize how your packets are traveling back and forth on the internet. I'll have to try that out. All right, did not break anything. That's good. All right, my thought was to maybe make that static, but I don't think I'll be able to do that. So I'll have to pass a reference. Actually, that makes sense. That's not even needed. Oh yeah. All right, that looks pretty good. I think that was a productive night. We get some the beginnings of a generic list item, and it works with that whole like super fancy screen layer merging nonsense that I spent a ton of time on. That's actually starting to bear some fruit now. So every one of these individually is its own screen layer. Then I merge on, I can like draw on it as its own layer, and then save it, and then I can basically like cache it, and then merge that down. And the next thing to implement will be, well, probably not right next thing, but I will have a feature so it, when the window is selected, it will respond to the arrows, the keyboard arrows. You can scroll through it, and also it's like there's a ton of edge cases where, like if I draw text on this and then it goes off the edge, it will properly clip that, which is a feature of the screen layer merging thing. And there's also a ton of edge cases of like what happens if there's a partial occlusion of a multi-column character and all kinds of stuff like that. And all of that insane logic is totally handled by the merging function. Huge progress since 7.0. I'm excited to check out the latest version. Yeah, it's an insanely long amount of time I've been spending on this. Hopefully it well, I think it is starting to get to a point where I can create new visually interesting features fast. I think just having the UI look neat. I actually have to think a bit about like how is it actually going to work with scrolling and stuff? Because the whole idea is to have it to basically have like a responsive user interface. So as I, for example, as I go in like that, or even actually the other. Yeah, so to make it so it's like dynamic and smart, so in this orientation it'll scroll maybe to the right, or it'll iterate out to the right. Yeah, think about it. But anyway, that'll be it for tonight. We'll pick things up again tomorrow for day 156. All right, have a good night, guys.